And hello, everybody. My name is Matt Kern, and I'm here with my friend Greg Wilson from the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy. So really excited that we're here and we have a guest. And Greg, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce Melissa.
Hey, sounds great. So we've got Melissa Lee from 22 Until None with us tonight. She's a board member and a social media operator for 22 Until None. They've got a huge following on social media. Our hopes is that we get together and be able to share resources and try to attack more veterans out there in the community. Mel has been a ground supply officer in the Marine Corps from 2000 to 2004. He was stationed in Quantico, Camp Lejeune, and then the inevitable Camp Hansen out in Okinawa. I spent 6 years there, so I love the Rock. She's married, got a couple of kids, and her husband is an infantry officer, so we have the total trifecta here of ground, air, and infantry. So
there we go.
We've got it all there. She was with him stationed at both Pendleton and 29 Palms. Is that right? And you were at 29 Palms and Camp Pendleton, right?
Briefly at Pendleton, and I was a dependent spouse in 29 Palms.
Oh boy! And she's
Everybody
currently working. This is really cool. She's currently working as the Family Resource Coordinator for UCLA's Focus and Wellness programs in the West LA VA. So, and it says here she also did outreach for veteran outreach for Habitat for Humanity in San Fernando. And is that the San Clarita Valleys?
Santa Clarita Valleys, yes.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Melissa, it is a true pleasure and finally an honor to get to meet you and have you with us. And I really hope that the resource that you bring to our veteran community will spread and we can do some great things with veterans together.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you both, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, so tell us just a little bit more about yourself. Greg talked about what you do, but talk a little bit more just about, what got you into what you do, and then talk about 22 Until None.
What got me into what I do is when I got my job at Habitat for Humanity, I did the veteran outreach for the San Fernando, Santa Clarita Valleys. I'm here in Los Angeles. And really reaching out to veterans and talking to veterans and kind of finding out that we have a lot of commonalities. I think we get out of the military and we kind of isolate ourselves. We think, oh, this problem is just mine. Nobody else in the world knows anything about this problem. And then you start talking to other people who served and you start realizing that this is kind of a common thing, a common problem. So when I stopped working at Habitat, I stayed home with my kids for a little bit and then really wanted to stay working in the veteran community. I volunteered at 22 Until None and love it there. It's a supportive staff. I believe 100% in what we're doing there, and we help veterans every single day. And so I really do love that. Just a little disclaimer, my whole family's here.
That's awesome. There's no problem with that. No problem with that.
But anyway, so then I was able to get hired on at UCLA for the Veteran Family Wellness Center. I'm the Family Services Coordinator there. It's a focus program. We're actually on almost every active duty military base, and it's about a 12-year-old program. But here we're on the West LA VA. We help veterans and their families improve communication, problem solving, emotional regulation, just all those really important relational skills that improve resiliency. And our program is free of cost. It's for California veterans anywhere throughout the state, but it's regardless of character or discharge as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So the organization 22 Until None, what's their mission all about? Obviously, we all know that 22 veterans a day are part of that sad statistic, and your mission is to try to get that to zero, much like that's one of our common goals as well. But how do you guys go about doing that?
We actually do that in a few different ways. One of them, we're mostly a social media based organization. I think that's just kind of the way things are these days. But we do have a Facebook page, 22 Until None, and we do have 125 or 30, something like that, 1,000 followers. And we post educational things. We post articles. We post, funny little, I call them memes, funny little memes, whatever, just posts to build a community. We also have a closed Facebook group called 22 Until None Keepers. You have to be a veteran in order to join that. So if you're looking to join it, you'll have to answer 3 questions. Please answer them all the way. If you don't answer them all the way, we will not accept you. But that group is where veterans can kind of let their hair down a little bit more. Maybe they have thoughts or problems that they're struggling with that they don't really want to tell their spouse or their family because they're afraid that that person won't understand or will freak out or be completely horrified by whatever it is that that veteran's going to say. So it's a really supportive group. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot of friendly competition between the branches. We're all Marines here, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about it anyway, let's be honest.
But it's a really, really good way for veterans to reach out to each other and to help each other out. And you'll get people who talk about their deepest, darkest problem that is like their biggest shame, their biggest fear, the biggest pain that they have in their life. And you'll have several people comment, hey, I'm there right now, or I was there this time last year, but this is what I did. There's hope. I mean, it's just a great way for veterans to support each other. We also have a closed Sisters Keepers group where you have to be a female veteran. In these groups, let me just specify, one of the questions is do not post GoFundMes. We do not allow anyone to do any fundraising in these groups. We will kick you out in a heartbeat. These groups are heavily monitored. We don't allow any kind of, no politics, nothing like that, no bullying, nothing negative. This has to be a safe place and a real supportive place. Sure. Another way that we support the veteran community and help to alleviate this number is we do have financial resources. And I believe we're up to $500, which maybe doesn't sound like a ton of money, but if you're in Nebraska in the middle of wintertime and $500 is going to keep your heat on, it's a big deal. Oh, sure. So there are some caveats, some things we don't pay, like child support. We're not going to pay taxes, things like that. So just kind of go to the page and look, but we will give you we'll pay the vendor directly or pay the utility directly. Another way that we.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but yeah, that's huge because a lot of veterans find themselves thrust into a fixed income, and they're very limited on what they can afford. And if they try to do anything, they're in that catch-22 situation where I want to go back and try to do something, but then I'll lose my benefits for it if I do that. An example, I've got my sister-in-law right now is looking to relocate from her apartment because she's on a fixed income and the apartment community is, on an annual rent raising cycle, and it's only going up $35. And you think, man, $35 and I could keep a roof over your head. But I mean, yeah, $500, what you guys are doing is, man, that's huge. It's in a lot of ways, it's a difference between whether or not I'm going to feed my family this month.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And we see that play out time and time again for people who are applying for financial resources. And then just kind of along with that, we have 2 annual events that I'm really proud of. One of them is, I think it's called Task Force Kringle. And so we will, the families apply. I can't remember all the details, but the families apply. Last year we picked 18 families, and they submitted a list of things that their family wants for Christmas, everybody in the family, and we spent up to $1,000, and we drop shipped from Amazon on December 1st. They had everything coming to them. So we do that. We've done that 2 years in a row. And then this year, of course, 2020 is just all messed up. This year we were going to do, it was called, I think, Task Force Libo or something like that. And we were going to send 2 families on an all expense paid vacation anywhere in the United States up to $5,000. I think we went a little higher than that. And then, of course, we're all under quarantine.
Yeah, nobody can fly anywhere.
So both families did pick Walt Disney World, and hopefully we're going to be able to send them in December. Yeah. We'll send them whenever we're able to send them.
That's awesome. That's really
good. I live down here in Florida, and Disney World is, pretty much shuts down around Labor Day when you're not in a pandemic. So it's a great time to go because the volume of people that flood into Orlando at that time is much less. But
Yeah.
now, I mean, nowadays, I don't even know what it would be like to try to get there now.
I'm in LA. We got Disneyland, and I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they're open. Who knows?
So, is that
but the last thing? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, is that task force mandatory fun? Is that what that is?
It might be mandatory fun. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
I saw it on your website. I was like, what's this mandatory fun thing all about? That sounds like a safety standout.
Yeah.
Well, so for mandatory fun, there were some criteria. We wanted to help families have some family time together, families who maybe were negatively impacted by deployments and whatnot. So you had to have, I think, a 70% disability rating, and you have to have seen combat. Those were our two criteria because we really wanted to promote family time together. I mean, the last 15, 20 years have taken away so much family time from so many veterans and service members. I mean, it's been tough.
Yeah.
So, but the last thing that we do to promote, to help alleviate the number of suicides is our inbox is manned or womaned 24/7. And all of us have been up late into the night talking to veterans who are suicidal, or maybe they're not quite suicidal, but they're just really struggling and in a really bad place. And we have a whole slew of resources nationwide to help veterans. All the resources we list are free. We don't do any for-profit resources. Those resources, by the way, are available on our free app, 22 Until None. But you can download it on your phone. It's financial resources. There's some legal resources. Mental health is big. Just all sorts of things. Homelessness. So that's what we do. I don't know.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's cool.
Matt, I didn't know if you were going to ask a question there, but one of the things that I kind of wanted to get after was, you mentioned that your mission is to kind of educate on available resources to help stop the suicide epidemic, but by promoting in-person get-togethers and buddy visits, I mean, you talked really well about the safe place to vent and talk through issues, which is a lot what we try to do. But the thing where we struggle, and I don't know if you struggle with this or not too, is what kind of things do you do to get veterans excited about wanting to spend time with veterans? It seems very difficult at times to, I'm offering all these great things. I just, I want to give you a bro hug and talk things. But at the same time, it's like, I got to be cool. I want to relax. But I want to involve more people. And I think our hearts are in the right spot, but trust is a huge deal. So what kind of things do you guys do to, promote those in-person get-togethers?
We have chapters around the country, local chapters, and they're not everywhere yet, but we probably have 15 or 20 of them. Mm-hmm. And with those chapters, we do try to do some get-togethers at least annually, but some chapters are more active than others. But I think that's really important to build that in-person camaraderie and just the somebody to call you up and say, hey, want to go get a cup of coffee? How you doing? Somebody who kind of can get it and understand where you're coming from. So we do have the chapter program. That's been tough. I don't know if you've noticed, but the veteran community is very stubborn. So it's been, I know, it's a shock for everyone. It's been really tough to get veterans involved in the in-person things. We have had some success with some of the hikes that we've done. And, we have get-togethers at restaurants. Everybody likes food. But but it's hard. It is hard. I think just constant promoting.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, you guys do such a great job with your social media presence. It's,
Thank you.
When you're stuck at home, and you're flipping through your phone. I mean, you guys have actually touched me on more than one occasion, which is one of the reasons that drove me to call you. Is I was struggling. I retired in 2016, and I still think I'm trying to reinvent myself here and figure out what I want to do. And it's hard from going, being the XO of a battalion to, just somebody in a grocery store that's like, hey man, get out of my way. So,
yeah.
one of the things that you guys do well with your social media presence is you mix it up. And I love the humor that's on there. I laugh all the time. I think you guys have different people that work on different platforms because I noticed there's a different theme on Twitter than there is in Instagram and Facebook. But you guys are doing a class this week that's really near and dear to my heart. This Thursday at 1600 Eastern time, you're going to do a Zoom class on service dogs. Tell us a little bit about that.
I am so excited. I'm just going to back up a little bit. At the beginning of this quarantine, at work at UCLA, I spoke to a veteran who was very isolated. He felt like he was very at risk for COVID. So he was unwilling to leave his house, and was feeling very isolated and was telling me how he could just feel himself going crazy. And that got me thinking, we need to have more contact. It really made me concerned for the veterans in the veteran community and how they're going to handle isolation. People who probably absolutely don't need to be isolated from human contact are now isolated. So I started a series of Zoom classes, kind of had TED Talks as my inspiration. And so we've done a class on entrepreneurship by someone who's a serial entrepreneur. He's a Marine Corps veteran. He's also my dad. But he gave classes to the senior enlisted and officers as they were getting out at Camp Pendleton. Him and this group of guys would give these business classes they had generals going through and whatnot. So they're really high quality. These guys are very experienced in their fields and know what they're talking about. I had another gentleman give a class called Can You Survive the First 90 Days, which is basically some of the skills that you learned in the military, how to translate those into the civilian workplace so that you succeed, but also some of the habits you learned in the military, how to not bring those into the civilian workplace because you will get fired. Yeah, maybe you don't want to drop F-bombs every other word, for example.
Throat punching is like not an option.
Yeah.
So I did that. I've had several. I've had using LinkedIn to find your next job. And so this class coming up is Service Dogs. It's by a gentleman. His name is Joaquin. I have a hard time pronouncing his last name, so I'm not going to. Yeah. But his name's Joaquin. He's written 2 books on service dogs. One of them, a grown-up book. One of them for kids called something like Why Is That Doggy in the Store? Something like that, by helping kids understand what service dogs are. Why can't you just go cuddle with them when you see them? Things like that. He's an expert. He has service dogs himself. He knows the law inside and out and the whole process to getting a service dog. So he's going to share his wisdom. It's a free class. Any veteran is welcome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But you got to join the closed Facebook group first, correct?
If you join that closed Facebook group, yes. Honestly, if you message a page, I'm going to give you the Zoom link because I want people in the class.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, look, if you look at what you guys do, I mean, you said it earlier in the interview. I mean, we have to bring veterans together, and that's one of the things that's hard to do. When veterans feel isolated, it's not a good thing. We need that buddy to buddy. We need that communication because, Greg and I talk a lot. We lean on each other, and having somebody that you can lean on, but not everybody has that person that, that they can lean on, they can turn to, and they can talk to. And I think that's just a wonderful thing that your organization is offering. It's just that place where veterans can, come to. They know that there's other veterans. One of the things that you said, being a counselor type that I am, is that you're not alone, right? You're not alone. And so many of us think that we are alone. We're the only ones that are going through this, and we're not. And so having that open dialogue, having that ability to find out that, oh, you know what? I'm not alone. That, I may be feeling low today, or I may be at a low point, but there's other people who are here, or there's other people who have been there and have pulled themselves out of it.
And you can kind of learn from their wisdom. I mean, just being in a group like that or being around other veterans, it can normalize some of these feelings, or even some of these experiences. In my job at work, we deal with a lot of veterans who maybe now have a criminal history. They got out and they've made some decisions. And there's a lot of shame surrounding that. And a lot of them, don't want to say it out loud or whatever. But if they they're in a group of people where they're like, yeah, I got busted for whatever. And, now I've figured it out. I've gone to counseling, whatever. But it kind of normalizes some of these things and lifts, shame is such an isolating emotion,
Absolutely.
And so if you can kind of lift that shame, and at least somewhere you have a venue to lift it and talk with other people about some of these shared experiences. It's
One other thing, I'm impressed at, what you're doing and all that, because one of the things that I was shocked about is that many of my friends struggled in their marriages post being in the military. That was shocking to me. That couples that I never thought would struggle, that I thought were model couples, and now they're out on the outside, and they're getting divorced. And to me, I think that's a shame, because
I do too.
it's learning to understand that, hey, we're so used to, I call it, this is my little thing for it, I call it the Marine Corps security blanket. That was my thing. When we're in, we know we're going to get paid on the 1st. We know we're going to get paid on the 15th. We know we're going to get 30 days pay vacation. We're going to have 72s. We're going to have 96s, right?
Yep.
And we're going to deploy. And so suck it up. That's what's going on. And then you get out, and it's just you and this person, and now you're counting on each other. And sometimes it doesn't work,
Yeah. Well, and it's you and this person, but now maybe you also have some of these mental PTSD, you have TBI, all that stuff. And the other person, now not only are you there all the time, but you're not the same person that they used to know in many ways. And maybe you don't even realize that, I know I've experienced that. I know all about that. My husband and I were a TBS couple. We're still married 20 years later. But that's not without the struggles, though.
Yeah.
And we've had those exact struggles. It's really tough, because war changes you. Being a wife, I didn't deploy, but I was at home with a baby during one of the deployments, but I was at home by myself for 2 of them. War changes both people in the marriage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's war is no joke. It's a tough thing.
My wife and I actually were just talking about that the other day. I think it was during a movie or something that we watched or something. I can't remember, but we were specifically talking about that reintegration after deployment and how, the spouse that stays home has to kind of, be the mother, the father, the king, the queen, has to do it all. And when you come back, that reintegration is much more difficult than probably going on the deployment to begin with.
Yeah.
Because on one instance, all you're worried about is, separation. And I'm going to be gone. I'm going to miss you. And those are some of the biggest things that you've got in the unknown and uncertainty. But when you're back, it's like, why isn't this working?
Yeah.
And, and unless you've experienced that, and, there's so many veterans out there that have deployed now. I mean, back in the early 90s, it was, a crapshoot on whether or not you would talk to somebody on active duty that went anywhere. It's like, did you go to Desert Storm? No, you didn't. Okay. So it was like, but in the 2000s and beyond, it's like everybody's been to Iraq and Kuwait, Afghanistan, all these places. And so everybody kind of feels this. So, to Matt's testament, man, you're not alone. I mean, we get it. Just the thing that I love about what Matt does with me all the time, and I haven't told him this, but we text a lot and we communicate a lot. But, if we need to talk about something, he's like, man, I'm going to send you a Zoom link. And it's not a phone call. It's not a text. It's a Zoom link. And he and I look at each other and we talk. And we just might be, having a good time and talking, but I see him, and it's pretty darn close to the same thing as, that need communication. And I mean, it makes me feel better that, I'm talking to somebody face to face and they get it. And, I think if we could try to do something for veterans to just let them know that, hey, we get it. No, we're non-judgmental. I don't care what's happened to you at this point. It's what we do from here on that defines us, and we're in it together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, the fear of being judged is just so strong, because we, especially in the Marine Corps, right? If you don't toe the line, if you're not hitting all your targets, then what are you, right? You're a poop bag, right? Or a poop bird.
Right.
And you know, I realize that I still struggle with some of that thinking.
Yeah.
You know, with some of the, fear of trying something new because I'm not good at it. And so I'm going to be a poop bag,
Yeah.
and I realize that, I've allowed that to hold me back throughout the years, and trying to drop some of the things from the Marine Corps that are not beneficial, if you will. Trying to get rid of some of those things, some of those holdups, and I think so many veterans struggle with that. Just
Well, and the key thing is, I would say the sad thing is, is what drives people. If we're here talking about 22 until none, and we're talking about how we lose 22 veterans a day, there's certain things that drive people. That it is that the feeling of being lost. It is the the struggle with PTSD. It is the struggle with finances. It is the struggle with alcoholism or drug addiction. It's those type or relationships like we talked about.
yeah,
Those
yeah,
are the things that drive people to the suicide when they feel like there's no up. And
yeah,
I don't care how low you get. And this is the message that I hope that that our veterans understand. Doesn't matter how low you get. We all have rough days. We all have rough
yeah,
times. We all hit the bottom. But
yes,
when you hit the bottom, there's always an up, and it's understanding that you've hit the bottom, Greg's hit the bottom, I've hit the bottom, and guess what? You can take off and you can go make a difference and you can support one another. And that's so
right.
important.
And I think all of us have had our lives take a direction that we never anticipated and we never really wanted.
Yeah.
And you gotta hold on.
Yeah.
There's another side to it.
Yeah, especially in these times right now. COVID is not easy, and I know a lot of people have lost their job. A lot of people have been put in bad spots.
Yeah.
I mean, suicide rates are up. Mental health
Mm-hmm.
issues are up. All of these things are up, and so support each other. Reach out to
Yeah.
each other. If you're struggling, it's just like what Greg was saying. If you're struggling, reach out to your buddy. Have that battle buddy. And reach out and say, hey, today's a rough day for me. I need to talk. We happen to be umpiring on a day that's near and dear to my heart. And this was one of the great things about the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy. We were umpiring in Charleston. Well, that's a big day to me because I lost my combat crew chief in a helicopter accident on July 9th, 2001. But I was there with my fellow veterans,
Yeah.
And so this year, 20 years later, 19 years later, this year was easier for me because I had the support of all my friends around me. That guess what? They've all been through it. They've all walked it. That we've all lost friends and all that in combat and everything. So it's so important.
Yeah.
I just commend you for what you're doing. I think it's great. What
Thank
your
you.
organization
Thank you.
and what you're doing in your job.
Thank you.
I always like that. It doesn't always ring with everybody, but I always look at suicide's that permanent solution to a temporary problem, and it may be hard to see the forest from the trees, when you're in the middle of it. But I mean, if we can't get anything across, we would hope to get across that you're not in it alone and somebody wants to talk to you. You just gotta make the call. You just gotta reach out.
Absolutely. And I would also say reach out no matter what. There are so many resources.
Yeah.
If you're already feeling bogged down and then now finances, you're having a problem with that, and that's just kind of the straw that's breaking the camel's back, reach out. People know of different organizations. We help with finances. There's different organizations everywhere that help with that. If you're having, you're bogged down at work, you've got all kinds of stuff and you're in a bad spot anyways, and then now your marriage is suffering, reach out. We can help put you in touch with resources that can be useful and that can help take some of that strain off of you, that will maybe help pull you back from that permanent decision there.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about 501c3s like you guys and us, and you did mention that you're a 100% volunteer staff,
Yes.
including your board of directors, just like
Yes.
we are, and that means you have passion. That means you guys have a vested interest, and you're not just there to say, it's like when you go to the Family Readiness Center, on base and say, hey, I'm looking for a list of restaurants, and they just hand you a seat and you walk out the door. That's not who we are. That's not how we got with what we do. And it's, we're passionate about, this isn't just lip service. We're like putting ourselves out there on our own time. And I mean, you've got your beautiful family walking around behind you every now and then. It's like, look, this is who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not, you don't see besides Matt, Mr. Howard Stern up there, but
don't be a hater. Don't be jealous.
Yeah, I'm Peyton.
It's a pilot thing. Yeah, come on.
So, we're just a bunch of veterans that are just like, hey, we're all in this same boat, and we're just trying to keep us all from sinking. So
absolutely,
we can get along a lot better if we do it together.
Yeah.
And absolutely, ultimately, I think it's up to us to take care of each other.
Absolutely.
I know there's the VA, and I know that there's all kinds of programs and things that are geared toward veterans, but ultimately, at the end of the day, veterans need to take care of other veterans.
I'm huge on peer-to-peer counseling. And peer-to-peer counseling is when you look that person in the eye and you say, I've been there, Melissa, I know what you're going through. I've been there because I was at TBS and it was not fun because I was Arctic Alpha and it was freezing. And I hate cold weather.
Nothing about TBS was fun.
That's why they called it the Big Suck.
Yeah. Right. So we're coming up towards the end of our time, and I just want to make sure that we cover this. Like, tell everybody where, because I want you to tell everybody 22 to 9, but if you're a California veteran, also just touch on how they can get in touch with us. So talk about both of them, like where they can find you, places they can follow you, and all that. So that's a great thing.
Absolutely. So 22 Until None, we do have a website. It's 22 Until None spelled out .org. So 22 is the two numbers, 22 Until None.org. You go there, and that will have a list of all the different I'm drawing a blank chapters that we have around the country. It'll have resources. It'll talk about our different programs. Really, if you really want to kind of experience 22 Until None, I encourage you to download the app. It's free, but it has all of our resources, all of our classes, our Zoom classes. I recorded them. They're all up on YouTube. Fair warning, sometimes I remember to record after we started. So we're about 5 minutes in, but you get the gist of it. So 22untilnone.org, or on Facebook, look up 22 Until None. If you're looking for keepers, it's 22 Until None Keepers, and that's on Facebook. At work at UCLA, I'm just going to encourage you, if you want to email me, if you're a California veteran and you feel like some of those services might be beneficial to you, my email is M like Melissa, LLEE at mednet.ucla.edu. I know it's a long email, but MLLEE at mednet.ucla.edu. I'm not going to give you my phone number because we're not in the office right now anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I'll make sure I get all that stuff, and we'll include that in the write-up and everything that we'll do for the event and then post-event and all that.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful. So, Greg, I'll let you, once you make a couple of comments, and then Melissa, we'll let you take us out of here.
Yeah, so we'll post all of Melissa's information and the website about 22 Until None, and also the program there at UCLA. We'll have a link on our website, and we'll make sure that it's, and that'll be everlasting. So if somebody comes back and listens to our show, 6 months down the road, then they'll be able to access all that information through our website as well. And that's, and most of you know it, but it's woundedwarriorua.org. And so we'll have that there as well. But there's a ton of programs out there. The resources link off of 22 Until None, None's website has a lot of really interesting programs that are out there that I enjoyed reading about. And, just like we were just talking about, when you get an organization that is created and actually gone through the rigors of becoming a 501c3, that's a stamp of seriousness. That's a stamp of passion, saying, we're going to get this right, and we're going to do it. And we may struggle along the way, but we're going to struggle together, and we're going to figure it out because what we're doing is so much greater than who we are as individuals. And, I salute 22 Until None and the staff and organizations out there like us that are trying to bring veterans together. And I just encourage you to give us a chance, give them a chance, and we can definitely be stronger together.
Perfect. So, Melissa, you got the last words.
Okay, well, I want to thank you both for having me on here so I can talk about the two programs. But like you said, yeah, we are very passionate about veterans, about helping veterans, and it's not always about suicide. Like we mentioned, sometimes it's about just getting counseling. Maybe you're just in a struggling place, or maybe you need financial resources. Whether you reach out to 22 Until None, the UCLA Veteran Family Wellness Center, wherever, just reach out to somebody. I promise, even if you reach out to an organization that has nothing to do with mental health, a lot of times they have a resource book of different types of resources. Just reach out to somebody. Give people the chance to help you, and give us fellow veterans a chance to help you.
Outstanding. Well, that's it. This is Melissa. It's been wonderful. So Semper Fi to you.
Semper Fi.
To your husband. And here we are, a bunch of Marines. See, we can do that. We cannot just eat crayons, right?
How do you know how that started?
Yeah.
I know.
That's right. So thank you so much. And we look forward just to working with you again. I'm speaking on behalf of Greg and myself, and the We Need to Worry Umpire Academy. Thank you so much for being on this with us. And just looking forward to building a relationship with you guys. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.